Okay, he's ready. Good morning, everybody. You are at a Waterworks Commission meeting. It's Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. It is 11:01 a.m., Wausau City Hall Council Chambers, and a full quorum is present. First up is item 1, consideration of the minutes of our December 2nd regular Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting. Would entertain a motion from Mr. Force and a question. We should introduce our new member. Seated up here, if you want to, Alder Greiner, if you want to give us a quick introduction.
Hello, everyone. I've met, I think, most of you, but minus one or two now. I'm Aaron Greiner. I'm the new alder for District 5. I was appointed to fill the vacancy left over after Alder Gisselman passed away last fall. So glad to be here.
Welcome. So is that, do I consider that a motion, Jim, for the minutes? Okay. I would entertain a motion for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
From Gelhar, second from Hadley. Any changes, adjustments, corrections? Seeing none, those in favor of accepting the minutes from the December 22nd meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Item 2 is director's report. Looks like we have some good news on water meter installations. Mr. Lindman, do you want to take that, or we hand it off to Scott for this one?
Yeah, I'll hand it off to Scott for the water side.
Okay.
No, this is just typical for end of the year, try to give an update to the commission of what we have accomplished or what we've done for the year. So that number is fairly decent. Generally, our meters and things are dictated by other work or time constraints or employee constraints, but if you have any other questions, so that's mostly what we accomplished this year.
So just for the record, so they're read in on this, all the meters you take out get looked at some sort of a test. Does it test and or determine whether it's working or?
Yes, correct. Right now, we're regulated by the PSC on our meter changeouts. So our residential meters are on a 10-year changeout program, which has not been maintained in the past. So a lot of these meters are older or in the homes longer than what they should be. So we test them on the way out to see what their accuracies are.
So 35% failed. I assume that's on the low side?
Actually, it's on the high side. Low side is where they fail. They're supposed to meet 90.5% accuracy, and they do not meet that. Most of them are well below that.
Okay, so by low side, we mean under-reporting and
Low flows,
undercharging.
yes.
Low flow, okay. Thank you. Mr. Force.
Scott, on the leak detection report, first of all, I'm very happy we did this. This makes a lot of sense. It's good practice. In point 2, you talk about repairing 26 main breaks.
Hey, Mr. Force, could you run your microphone?
I just wanted to say I'm glad we did this. It's good practice. You talk about repairing 26 main breaks and repairing 32 services in 2025. Is that based on the leak detection study, or is the leak detection study in addition to what you've already done?
Those would be included in that.
Okay.
So the ones outside of the ones that were found with the leak detection study were stuff that came in either surfaced or we have found.
Okay. I expected more. Did you?
No, last year was pretty mild. So just in comparison, in the last week, we've had 6 main breaks. So the colder weather is going to
Yes, of course.
cause more ground movement, more main breaks. So we've had, 20%, 25% of what we had last year all in 1 week so far this year.
And the leak study that we did in 2025, do you anticipate doing that again in the near future or off in the future, or when?
We do.
What's
So
the sequence?
currently, right now, with Western Leak Detection, he does acoustic leak detection and listening. So he'll listen on each one of our hydrants throughout the city. If he hears noise, we go back and investigate, or he investigates.
Is this
that.
ongoing
Every other year, we've been doing this.
every other year? All right,
Yeah.
that's the
And-
answer I was looking for.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
we have a contract for 2 more visits with him, so 27 and 29. Estera, we have a contract to go through next year yet.
Okay.
Ms. Hadley?
Every other year, so when he comes and does the survey, it's $10,700.
Mr. Griner?
Thank you, Chair. I had a question that was left over. Actually, I went and toured the water treatment facility a couple weeks ago, and something I wanted to ask, and I didn't do it when I was there. So given the rolling replacements of all the water meters, substantial progress has been made, but is there a timeline that you guys are looking at to have all of these updated and back online and hopefully to the 90% accuracy?
I'm hoping in the next 2 years, but it's going to depend on regulations, our staffing levels, and other issues we run into. I'd like to dedicate 4 people every day to it, and it just hasn't happened. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I think the one thing to note too, the new meters we're putting in are 20-year meters.
Correct.
And so the old meters we had were 10 years. So, so our frequency of changeouts, I think, once we get through and get these changed out, hopefully the idea is with the longer lasting meters, we'll have a better replacement schedule moving forward. So,
Well, 1973, that's a pretty good life out of that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, next item is the lead copper rule update.
So this was going to come out for the meeting last month. It was just an update to know that the utility did send letters to, excuse me, I got to find my notes here. We did send letters out to all customers that had lead service lines, known lead service lines, or unknown. So what we're finding is on the street side or the city-owned lead service lines, there's probably about 3,100 known lead service lines. We sent 76 notices out, so the rest of those are unknown. So we're working on trying to update our inventory and getting into people's homes. With those notices, we sent a request that the people getting the letters either make an appointment that somebody can come in and check and see what kind of materials they have, or to verify what they have. There's a process through CIP that allows them to take some pictures or self-report, so they don't have to have somebody coming into their house. But trying to update the inventory for the EPA and for the DNR, which is going to be, it is required already, but as we update, we don't have to send so many letters, and there's going to be more restrictions and more items we're going to have to contend with in 2027 if we don't have these unknowns knocked down. So.
And, Mr. Boris, can you give us, what's the reception been like from residents getting these? Are you getting good feedback?
I think the feedback is probably low. I think people today don't really read their mail much, and if they do see it's from the water department, they don't really read it well. And a lot of times if they have copper or if they've had their service changed out, they're unresponsive. So I don't think we're getting a lot of positive feedback. It's going to take us more effort and more resources if we can't get people to help us out, to figure this out. So.
this is part of the new lead and copper rule improvements. You know, in the past, we've only had to track our side on the public side, which is in the street up to the curb stop. Now they're requiring us to track the private side, the side that we do not own. So obviously, we don't have very good records of that in the past. So a lot of those unknowns are on the private side. And with the requirements, as Scott said, that we have to identify these unknowns. Lots of times people will read the letter and say, oh, I've had mine replaced, and ignore it, right? But in order for us to I mean, even if they tell us, hey, it's PVC or it's PE or copper or whatever it is, we have to physically verify it in some way. So we're sending out additional notices through our lead replacement program with CIP. They're sending out, 400 or 500 groups of notices with a little bit more detail and explanation why we need the inventory. So we're hoping to get more feedback from residents, but we can't just say that we spoke with the homeowner and it's been changed and this is the material. We have to somehow physically document and verify it in order for that to happen. So to unclassify it as unknown. So.
Well, I'm a good example. I had my line replaced. I got the letter. I simply discarded it because I figured we're all set. You should know this, and I put the letter in the wastebasket. I think I'm probably typical.
Yeah, and there was some crossover in between, and so there was a letter included with some of those letters that went out. So DNR is requiring us to send letters at the time our inventory was submitted. So we still did some replacements after that point. So we actually had to send letters to people that we knew had service replaced, but to meet the code requirements, we had to send the letters.
Can we rely on any of the CIP inspection, CIP outreach?
Yeah, we are, as long as they go in and verify.
So the
Yeah.
CIP can verify
Yes,
for us?
yeah.
Okay.
They'll document with pictures and notes, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we need some sort of physical verification, so. Yeah. And I think, it is challenging, because when we do the inventory and we try to do it as close, I think November is when we have to send the notices out. And so, but it takes us, weeks to get the inventory put together in the format, right? So in the GIS system, we have to pick a point of time, let's say in September, where we pull that data. And if we're still replacing lines, let's say we get a few hundred more replaced, well, those few hundred people are still going to get a letter because that's required by the DNR, right? So it's, and then we try to follow up with those few hundred people and say, hey, we understand that that we just replaced your line. You're going to get this letter. Please ignore. But it creates confusion. So those are calls we're getting too. So.
On the good news, though, we have is it around 3,000 more than or fewer than we had 2 years ago?
Yeah, and I think we're hoping that number continues to go down as our inventory gets verified. And so initially we started out with we thought there were a total of 8,000. I think the latest numbers a few months ago were around 7,000, 7,100. And so as our inventory gets verified, we're finding that there's less out there than what we anticipated. So that's good news on our side.
All right, up next is the wastewater updates, Headworks Screening Project and Cherry Street Lift Station. Ben.
Sure. Just wanted to provide an update to the commission that the Headworks Screening Project is still moving along smoothly. Did run into a little hiccup with the influence channel. The concrete was compromised after the removal of one of the old screens. The concrete was pitted and kind of falling apart, so they had to take action, remedial action as far as a new coating. Had to be applied first to prevent that from further occurring. So there was a change order recently in the sum of $28,000, could be less, depending on what's needed in the second channel. The concrete is from original construction from 1969, so they weren't able to make that determination until the old screen was out of commission and taken out of service. So the work has already been performed on the east channel, and it looks great. It'll last for many, many, many years. So the startup of the east screen is supposed to take place next week, provided that everything, all the electrical and all that is up and running as well. So we're looking forward to that. As far as the Cherry Street Lift Station project, it's been a slow project, a lot of delays with the weather and that, the extreme weather, but they're planning on startup today, actually. They're firing up all the equipment and doing some testing. We'll have staff training tomorrow mid-morning at the site. So,
Thank you. Questions on that? Mr. Force?
Yeah, Ben, are we replacing existing screens, or did we run for a while with no screening?
right now, we always had the old ones in place.
Okay.
They're of 15 years of age, unserviceable. That would made the determination of the replacement of them. Anyhow, they have to replace one at a time and keep one in service at all times. So
Okay.
that's kind of why we're doing one at a time right now.
All right, up next, there's a tab, or there's a sheet in there, 2 sheets in there on the permit update for wastewater. Mr. Brooks.
Yes, just wanted to provide you with an update. The final comment for the public comment period ended on December 22nd. I submitted comment on behalf of the city on December 19th to the DNR, so I met the deadline just fine. The comments that I submitted are on the attachment there, the email that I had sent to Angela Parkhurst from the DNR, just with some simple requests. With the E. coli testing, they were asking for a frequency of 2 times per week. Our old permit, the expired permit, was only once a week. There was really no need to test for twice a week, so I asked for the once a week. Kind of in there explained my dismay with the Class A biosolids designation. The holdup all along has been with the biosolids coordinator department. I don't know, we've been trying to get that approved for many years, and the hang-up is still there, and they don't seem to be able to do anything about it. I'm hoping with the issuance of the final permit that we will have that designation, so then we can start treating it as Class A and not B. So, our hands are tied. It's all with the DNR right now on the Class A designation.
Mr. Force.
Well, it sounds kind of like a hopeless situation. You say that it's been 2 years, we still can't get a response, and you don't see any end to this.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, is there nothing anyone can do to get this individual to do his job?
I've been trying. I've tried other sources, and the DNR just, they don't know what to do either with this individual.
Can our
So
legislators be of any help?
there's people that have taken legal action, and it's gotten them absolutely nowhere. He's a one-man show, so it's,
Well, it sounds like a dereliction of duty to me.
yeah.
And
It's
it has an impact in that we want to have Class A solids so we can get rid of this stuff.
correct. And at this point, I don't know which direction to go. I mean, you give this person, you reach out to the DNR and express your feelings, and they all have the same issue, but there's nothing that can be done about it, apparently, unless we take legal action.
So you're saying other communities have the same issue?
Absolutely. Yes.
Are we producing any Class B, or is it all Class A by the time it comes through?
We have to treat it as Class B because we don't have the final approval of Class A designation. So therefore, we're having to do the Class B testing along with Class A because we have to show proof that we are producing the Class A. So we're doing everything that we should be doing. We have the trending. DNR has all that. They have our sludge management plan. So I just don't know which direction to turn.
It just seems redundant, because if you're producing Class A, then you're already
They're all
above
aware
the
of it.
standard than the B. So that is,
And I even the sludge reports that I just submitted, the 2025, it was due by the end of December. I submitted comment along with that,
Saw that.
provided that. So
Somebody,
they're all aware
somewhere.
of it. So, excuse me?
Can our legal department send a letter?
Oh, I think we can, for sure.
We can,
Yeah.
you can.
I think the.
Thing is, this individual comes to the meetings and that, and yeah, you'll have that letter by next week. Well, it's been 2 years, and I think people have taken that approach.
Well, we've
It's-
talked to the assistant secretary and,
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll talk to them, we'll get that. Yeah, apparently not. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Terrible, and it's costing us.
It's costing us, yes, it is, for the additional testing that we're doing. But it's a safeguard to us that we're doing it, so they can't come back at us later on and say, why weren't you testing this? So,
Right.
Okay.
Can we keep this on the agenda so that
I think
we
we
don't lose
should
track
keep
of
it
this?
on the
It's an issue
agenda.
that I think needs to be resolved. Or
Sure.
We need to help Ben as much as we can.
yeah.
I've got some ideas we should talk about. I think we get a little more public about it. Sure.
John Robinson. Yeah, I agree. I know others have tried that avenue and it hasn't worked out for them so good. So I don't know what to expect if we do take any action in that aspect.
So Ben, you're saying other cities, other utilities are in the same boat?
There are some out there,
Some?
yeah, lacrosse is.
Well, maybe if we gang up and take legal action.
Yeah. The department has the one individual that he doesn't have any help that I know, that I'm aware of. So it's all on this one person to approve all these different utilities that have sludge dryers and that. So I think he's backlogged with all the permits, and it's issue of being understaffed and not having the. And that's with the issuance of the discharge permits too. It's the same thing.
So we got ours in, and we made comment prior to, what was that, 12/22,
Correct.
prior to the
And
30
I
day.
haven't heard
30 day
anything back
window.
from the department.
So it's been 45 days since or 40 days since the close of the 30-day comment period. Would be good to get a timeline back from them on what we expect.
I can reach out to Angela Parkhurst as well and provide an update at the next commission meeting as well on that.
Okay, Jeannie, you got that? Thank you. All right, item 3 is discussion. First item is discussion on water rate comparisons. Mr. Boers put together some spreadsheets that shows comparisons to cities in the state, cities in communities within the county. And Scott, did you want to lead us off and tell us what you found there?
Sure. These spreadsheets were run out of the PSC website, so they do have a rate comparison tab on their site, so anybody can do this. All I did is went in on the 16th of last month and ran some different comparisons with utilities. This was driven by several questions. I keep hearing Wausau's got the highest rates in the state, so it's really not true. So we put this together. If you look at the first sheet, for the utilities in the Marathon County, we're right about in the middle of Marathon County. If you look at the utilities that have rates lower than ours, right now they are all building PFAS removal or some kind of treatment or some kind of plant, or don't treat it all. So their rates are going to vary depending on the quality of their water or the service that they're providing to their customers. Interestingly enough, there's a few that are going to be in for rate cases right now. So that could change. same thing with the rest of them. So AB Utilities, we went statewide with AB Utilities. AB Utilities are those that serve 4,000 customers or more. We fall up in the top third of those. But again, there's several hundred requests for rate increases or changes at PSC right now. And same thing with a statewide. I think it's in there, what are we, 187th out of the 575 municipalities in Wisconsin. So it was just an update to the commission and to the public that we are not, in fact, the highest rates in the state.
Mr. Force.
Scott, that sheet 3, that's all water utilities of all sizes, is that?
Correct.
Okay. And sheet 2 is just those in our population category?
Correct.
This is good information for the commissioners to know. Is it the kind of information that ratepayers should know as well? Or do you not want to do that?
That would be up to you. If you guys want us to advertise that somehow. We don't have, I don't believe we have anybody that specializes in publicity in the utility or citywide, but we can certainly put it out.
We do have the newsletter. Is the upcoming newsletter our water annual report?
If we're having a spring newsletter, the annual reports are generally not till summer, but
Okay.
that will be coming on twice a year shortly as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have space in the newsletter.
In a Q&A, this could be one of the questions and one of the answers, on a variety of topics.
Mr. Greiner.
Thank you, Chair. So given that our rate was updated July of 2023, it's going to be a hard question. I know you're not a clairvoyant or an economist, but given the current landscape and the current situation with the prices regarding the chemicals, the GAC and everything like that, we have to use to treat the water and everything, how long do you foresee us being able to keep our rate at this level until the cost for treatment would outpace what it would cost for us to bill at this? I mean, I know the PSC is deeply involved in setting this, but how long will this rate be sustainable for our operations?
I know we're going to be looking at that coming up here this spring. We're going to have some analysts look at that and give us an opinion. My personal opinion is I've never seen prices on anything go down, and everything keeps going up 5-10%. Chemicals go up 10%, so it eats away at our margins very fast. I would go in for a small rate increase every year if it was my personal, if I had a personal preference. Like public service. How many people complain about their gas or their electric going up until they get a big jump like this year? So they do the standard rate increase of 3 to 4% every year. People don't even notice it on their bills, and it's always there. What we do when we go into big rate jumps is we jump into a cycle. So we increase largely, and then we hold off for 5, 10, maybe 15 years, and then we jump in on another large increase, 60, 70%. That's when people notice. That's when it hurts. That's when it hits hard. 3% a year, nobody notices. 60% in 20 years, everybody feels it. So we're always going to be looking at ways to reduce costs, but rates are going to go up. Like I said, if I had a say in it, it would be a small increase every year instead of going for the large increases.
Perfect. Thank you.
We do have Finance Director Grote here. Would you care to comment on that strategy or what strategy we typically implement? Because a rate case is a fairly significant thing to do every year.
Yeah, so the PSC does allow you to do interim just automatic rate increases, which is a small form that you have to fill out. But if you want a full rate increase with changes in the calculation, if you want to go through, look for conservation incentives or anything, we usually hire Ellers to do our rate cases for us. And I can tell you, even with all of their expertise, they will get like lists and lists from the PSC on additional questions or clarification. So it is a pretty lengthy process to go through the rate increases. And again, we can have Ellers come, but the PSC has what they use to determine a rate increase. And so you can go in with an idea that you're going to get a decrease because you think you've had savings, and it does not equate to a decrease. It's going to equate to an increase because, we've put a lot of, for example, investments into our capital, and that capital investment then equates to recovery for those capital investments, which equates to increases in your rates. So the PSC really runs the ship. They're designed to manage our rates, basically to protect the taxpayer and ensure that we have sufficient rate of return to run the water utility. But it does kind of try to keep us in, just a hair above I call it the poverty level for the water utility, because they don't want us to make too much money and be able to, I guess, set large sums of funds aside. So they're really in the business of protecting our ratepayers.
Questions?
Just to clarify, because I don't know if the
Well,
commission
yeah,
is.
I was headed here, and then I saw my next door neighbor in the hall, and so I had to say hi quick, and so I might have missed some things,
No,
sorry.
No, but there is a quick rate increase that you can do every year that's not much.
Yeah, it's just a
filing.
quick form.
Yeah, and then every 3 years or 4
Yep.
years, you have to do, if you want another rate increase, you have to
Yes.
go in for the full rate
Yep,
case and then
exactly.
provide the supporting material.
Yep, exactly.
Ms. Hadley? Is your,
The pilot, yep, and I think that's next on the agenda, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm just questioning that again, that amount, and you mentioned that you don't want to be making money. You really should be making money.
Right.
And your initiative was trying to leave for the water bills and this big increase. This all looks good, your rates look good, but you put this on top of your tax bill. It's not so great. It's a lot. And yet, every year that, I know we always thought it was always a real $500,000 would move over to the low taxes. And I know you talked about not doing that or somehow holding that back, but you said that would be an insignificant amount of money that we would get back or we could reduce it. But now you're talking about increasing them again.
The pilot? Oh, or the
Not
rates?
pilot.
Oh.
I'm talking rates first, I'm
Okay.
talking about the pilot also.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're making $1 million some dollars, and that goes to the general fund? Where does
Yes.
that money move? Okay. And so it's not designated, it's $1 million.
Well, it's not designated, but I mean, it's not going to reserves. It's being used to fund all of our general fund operations, which, the general fund is basically the fund that accounts for all of the services that the city provides, whether it be fire and EMS, police, public works, parks, all of the services that the citizens enjoy every day and rely on, a street being passable without giant potholes. And, I think when you look at that pilot payment, it is, two pockets, right? The utility and the city. The city is, just like the utility is constrained by the PSC, the city is constrained by the state of Wisconsin and the Department of Revenue, where our general fund expenditures can't increase by large sums because we have expenditure restraint requirements that hold those increases in check. And we also have the levy limit laws that hold our tax levy under control, because if we don't follow those, basically with expenditure restraint, if we don't follow expenditure restraint, we lose about $1 million in grant money from the state, which is an annual allocation. If we don't meet our levy limit, for every dollar we would go over in levy limit, the state basically takes it back from our shared revenues. So it would be a net zero game, basically. So you have to comply with the levy limit. So really, it would be very difficult for the city to give up pilot because we would have no way to make that up because we can't increase our levy to recover those $1.5 million for the water and $485,000 from the sewer. There would be no way for us to make that up in 1 year, or because we've been struggling each year to balance our budget because the expenditure restraint and the levy limit both are looking at either CPI or they're looking at our net new construction, which is basically looking at building permit value increases, neither which reflect really what it costs to do operations in the city when you're, balancing the cost of health insurance increases and just basic service increases. They don't reflect what those costs are. And because the city has such limited diversified revenues, when you look at, in fact, we're working on developing a chart for the taxpayers, kind of like when you look at, let's see, Consumer Reports, and you look at vacuum cleaners and it tells you, oh, here's all of the things that you need in your vacuum cleaner and what grade you get. We're going to develop something like that to show really the city's limited revenue diversification. Because, when you look at other communities that are relying on stormwater, their garbage is off contract, they're relying on wheel tax. There's, a variety of other revenue sources that we, as the city of Wausau, have not implemented that other communities are implementing. So when people get their once a year tax bill, that's basically their bill. It's sort of like schools where you used to just pay your taxes for schools and you didn't have to pay anything else. And now to put your kid in K-12, they're paying, you have to bring your boxes of Kleenex, you have to pay for, all sorts of things to park in the parking lot. If you have high schoolers, to pay all of their uniforms, all of these things. They've diversified their revenues, but we haven't. The city of Wausau has not. And now with the levy limits, because so many communities were looking to diversify their revenues, the levy limit laws were adjusted. So if we would implement a stormwater utility today, we have to reduce our levy by that same amount of revenues that we're going to generate. So in the first year of implementation, you don't really get any additional revenues. You can in future years as you do additional rate increases, things like that. You're able to keep up then a little bit better with inflation in these various aspects, but we really have ourselves kind of stuck in this situation of relying heavily on property taxes with no place to go. I think the other comment I would make about the pilot is, the pilot right now, the city of Wausau is home to so many nonprofit organizations, churches, schools. We really are the central city. Museums, we provide a lot of amenities that are nonprofit. They don't pay taxes to support our streets, to do anything like that. Having that pilot does then recover some costs for the city from those nonprofits. And I guess my final thing I would say is the city does support the utility in a variety of ways. We gave a lot of money of our ARPA to the utility, and I didn't have time to calculate, and we could do that at the next meeting, bring that to you. A lot of our ARPA dollars went for utility investments, both water and sewer. Our TID districts support the utilities through, like when we were doing streets, for example, the whole mall area, Fulton was just redone and the water and sewer mains were replaced with TIDs. So that is a way that the city does support the utilities financially. So it really is kind of a big puzzle when you look at the give and take between the city and the utility.
Because you have that excess, you're actually making a profit on that money. I mean, your rate is, you've got a little whatever extra in your budget revenues, correct? So you're making money on the water bill.
Because they're recovering the pilot, you mean?
That's right. I mean,
Well, it's a cost to the utility.
money left to give to you, right?
Right, it is in the rates, yes. It's in the rates to recover that cost, yes.
Does a change to the pilot require PSC approval?
So you're allowed to forgive, and we did also do an analysis on that. We could certainly update it, but when you look at cities throughout the state, there are very few, when you get to larger full-service communities, like if you're going to look at tiny little places, I think it's pretty common to forgive the pilot because the cost is so small. But when you're looking at full-service, larger cities, most cities are charging the full pilot to their utility. I think the last time I did an analysis, there was just less than a handful of communities in Wisconsin that were forgiving, and many of them were just forgiving a portion of it like we do.
I would say on the rates, before we went into the large construction projects for the new water treatment facility, we were adjusting rates on an annual basis by 3%, right? And the idea when I first came on, it hadn't been done for a while, and was that when we do go in for a full rate case then, that percentage is less, right, when we're keeping up. Because as Scott said, everything is going up, right? Even our electric costs are going up every year. So right now, this is our last rate increase was July of '23. It'll be July of '26, so that'll be 3 years where we haven't done any adjustments on the rates. So there'd be 3 full years of increases to our operations where we haven't looked at those rates. And so this idea that we're going to come in and reduce rates, I've always said that that'll never be the case, right? Our idea is to mitigate the increases that we're going to use going forward, and that's by how we operate our system, efficiencies that we implement, right? And so we're looking at the carbon. We still have to look at our PFAS settlement and how that money is going to be used in the utility to offset operational costs, right? To, again, mitigate future rate increases, right? And so that's really what we're focused on. These, discussions about rates, but I would agree with Scott. We should look at small rate increases every year, and maybe periodically we don't do them, But I think that's smart operation of the utility, and I think that's how we should look at how we run the utility. Because when we go large gaps without doing it, all that's going to do is make a larger impact down the road. Because we're not only going to have to catch up, but then they're going to do the rate case for what they see moving forward. So.
Yeah.
Mr. Force?
Because we have a number of new members, and then we have some old members who can't remember. That was a joke. It might be worthwhile to have like a 10 or 15-year history of rate and rate increases so the commissioners could see this. I don't know if that can be prepared, but I would like to see it.
We're getting some head nods. We'll see if we can do that.
Well, we must have a record of, when it went up 2%, when it went up 3%, when
Yep.
it went up more than that recently. Thank you.
Mr. Greiner?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for the finance director. For the short form on the rate increase for the PSC, just theoretically, how much leeway does that give us to raise?
I think it's
Costs.
a 3 or a 5% increase, isn't it? something like that.
Okay.
We haven't done one in a while, so.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
And again, that's only for water.
Yeah.
Right? So sewer is separate, and that's determined locally, so.
Okay, so that's the water rate comparison. We'll have more on what our 15-year roughly history was on that leading up to today. Item B is update on the solar array project and possible schedule. Considering no sole source, we're outsourced, or we're bidding out the engineering, Eric?
Correct, yeah. So the RFP is out for advertisement right now. That will be due towards the end of February. Likely contracts should be signed in by mid-March, and then we can begin the process. Once staff evaluates the proposals that come in, we'll bring that to the Finance Committee as far as what that selection is, and then and those costs, and then any schedule that we have moving forward. We do have a grant application, but we're not going to know about that till May, June timeframe with the EPA. At least that's what their schedule was online still. And we will also be bringing to finance any changes in the regulations that have come up, since we're not going to meet the July 4th construction schedule with tax credits, with timing of the project, with, it seems like a few things are still in flux, but I think things are settling down a little bit, so, yeah, with that project.
Mr. Force?
So let me be clear. We were moving this ahead on a sole source contract so that we could meet a deadline and qualify for federal relief on this project. Have we missed that deadline completely now?
I think we'll still be eligible for the tax credits. I just don't know to what level at this point. Yeah, so it basically added about 3-4 months to our project. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Mr. Greiner?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a question regarding that. So in full disclosure, I was on finance and I voted to not approve the sole source for this, which I've already spoken with Director Lehman about. Just the whole issue of being, a $20,000 sole source versus a $500,000 sole source. There's a little bit of a leeway in between the two of it, but I was under the impression that if we were to get the RFP out, sign a contract, receive our proposals, as long as we are still able to pay that amount, even if it was like the $450,000 for Clark Dietz, that would cover the 5% of the initial cost, which would what we would need in place before the July 4th deadline, and that would count towards beginning construction, because the 5% or the initial investment for services would be more than the 5% needed to qualify as beginning construction. So that would still put us before the July 4th, 2026 deadline. Is that still possible? Because we were also waiting for
because we have to be under construction. Those are construction costs that have to be done. So when we sign a contract with the engineer, they'll start design, which will probably be a good 3 months. Then we have to bid the project. And then we have to get a contractor on board, which is going to be 4 weeks for contract signing, and then start construction. So we are going to probably, the earliest will be August, September for construction start.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was under the impression that in the literature that we were given for the sole source, that the down payment for Clark Dietz would be applicable for the July 4th deadline, because it said something along the lines of, I don't quote me on this, but any kind of contracting, consulting, or engineering services would qualify us, that would qualify for the construction amount.
No.
I'll have to go back and look at that then.
Yeah. If that's how the interpretation was, that's not how the intent was written.
So is that tax credits or?
Which one? Right now, as far as I know, it's just timing. So if we started construction before July 4th, we had until the end of '28 to complete the work, right? And then, so now, if we start after July 4th, we have to be done before the end of '27. And then there's still some discussion about after July 4th, if, I think the 30% tax credits are still available. There was also an opportunity for an additional 10% for, based on your census data within the city, disadvantaged cities, and then another 10% on qualified material purchase, right? America, Build America, Buy America type products. And with the timeline short, that's always kind of been the question, whether that additional 20% of tax credits is still going to be available. I don't know that yet. Yes, correct. Yes. Yes, that was the approval, yeah. Yep.
Smiles, no questions. Okay. All right. Up next is, we got no votes today, so just discussion and information. We touched a little bit on the pilot, which is the payment in lieu of taxes, and we've got further discussion on that here.
So this was, we talked about this a little bit, but right now the water utility is paid, which has been fixed for the last couple of years, is 1.59 million on an annual basis. And I think that the PSC established that right around 2. And so the city's forgiving 400,000 or 500,000 of that at this point, right? I think, don't quote me on the exact amount, but I think that's pretty close. In the wastewater utility, I said approximately 500,000 here, but Mary Ann says 485, so, yeah.
So this was set by council at the end, or during the budget of last year, and it's been discussed since I've been on council and here every year. It seems like there's interest in trying to figure out how to mitigate future increases, but as Mary Ann pointed out, how do we get there? And getting there overnight is going to be difficult. And what's the right rate? I think there's going to be more discussion on that, and council's going to have to make some decisions on where that goes.
And I do know that we are working through our invoices for, from 2025 construction, to get everything in and paid, that was paid or completed in '25, so that, finance can do their job and actually get year-end completed on the utility side. At that point, we'll have full costs, and our intent is to continue to work with Ellers, on this and to update what our costs possibly would be moving forward, and then to also discuss with them about, as they've done before, like what would it look like on the drinking water side to go in for a rate case at this point, right? And so, and what that takes into account is just not our operations, it's also our capital costs and what our debt service is on the utility. So, so I think it's, it's something that, we need assistance with, and somebody that's familiar with PSC math and how they determine that. And so, I don't have a specific timeline on that for you right now, but that is something that we're working on to bring back, in the coming, months, so. Yes, yep, it'll be like a cash flow analysis like that. Mm-hmm.
What time, Mary Ann, maybe you could comment, what was the timing on that last year?
I don't remember the time, we're hoping to wrap things up earlier this year. In '23, we went live with Workday. That was a huge project for us, and I lost 80% of my accounting staff during implementation because it was just such a grueling process. So, that combined with implementation really set us back quite a bit. So we've been playing catch up for a couple years now. But we are hoping to get our books closed early this year. We have new auditors this year, and we're really hoping to make the PSC filing deadline rather than having to file an extension like we have the last couple of years. So, yeah, last week, I think it was, I met with engineering staff to go over all of the projects to see, what we could get closed for this year and what will carry over because the projects really aren't concluded, both on the utility side and on the city side. So that is an important step in closing the books. So, if we can get that done in, the month of February and then get some final things calculated, that PSC report is a combination of financial and statistical data. So we have that statistics to accumulate as well. So, yeah, we've been working hard to get that done.
If you recall, we had our report to PSC 2 years ago. We had 17% water
Oh,
loss.
yeah.
So we put $2 million into water meters. So hopefully that shows some turn. I think last year we were down about 6-7% on that number, if I'm not mistaken. But if we can get into the 7% range, single digits, that represents 10% on a $12 million sale. That's $1.2 million. If we can put that to the bottom line, it would be nice to see how that works out. Obviously, the ones we are replacing are underreporting, so logic would seem to indicate we're going to pick up on that, barring any major leaks. So March timeframe would be good to see
Yeah.
that. And then the new council will be formed and be able to start working on next year.
Yep.
Questions from Mary Ann, Mr.
Questions
Forrest?
on pilot, are we there? Questions on the pilot program, are we
Yes,
at that point?
yes.
Well, I want to back up a little bit. Trying to understand pilot, there was a meeting, I think it was the council of the whole meeting that was canceled. I thought it was going to be discussed and maybe covered in the press, but it wasn't. Number one, are utilities, municipalities mandated to implement a pilot program, or is this optional?
So for the water, it's
For
required.
any program, for any pilot program. I correct me if I'm wrong. A pilot can apply to any non-profit piece of property.
Yes
Any
and
property,
no.
any
So-
property that is receiving public utilities like roads,
No.
water, and is not paying property taxes could be subject to pilot.
I would say no. I mean, you would want to talk to the city attorney about that. We cannot dictate a pilot to a nonprofit. Usually, how we secure a pilot,
Okay, then how is a pilot applied to the water plant?
because the PSC requires that you calculate a pilot payment, and they dictate the format or the calculation.
So the decision maker is the PSC in this?
Yes, for the water.
So is the fire station, police station, do they pay pilots?
No,
But they are public utilities
they're
benefiting?
not a public utility. They're a public service. They're not a
Public-
utility.
Well, we're arguing over
No, we're not.
semantics. It's a public facility that is receiving public benefits like roads, water, wastewater. but they're
Police
not
and
paying
fire
but they're-
services are not managed by the Public Service Commission because they're not a public utility. They're a service that we provide our
Is that
constituents.
true across the state and across the country?
Well, I don't know about the country, but it is true across the state.
Because what I read about pilots is that it can apply and does apply in some cases, I can't be specific, to hospitals, universities, other nonprofit pieces of property pay a payment in lieu of taxes in other situations. But what I'm what you're telling me is that the PSC is the determining factor here. They
For
are the-
water.
They are the decision maker.
For water. So as I was trying to explain, for a nonprofit, generally, I'll just use the curling club as an example. The curling club makes a pilot payment to the city of Wausau every year because they came to the city and wanted specific things from the city, that being Curling Way. So the city constructed Curling Way at the request of the curling club. In conversations about that development, the city negotiated payment in lieu of tax with the curling club. And so the curling club makes a pilot payment each year to the city of
In answer
Wausau.
to my question,
I'm getting there. So, but we cannot just go to a nonprofit and say to them, you're going to make a pilot payment to us. We cannot do that. So we do not collect widespread pilot payments from nonprofits because we do not have the authority to do that. Nor do we receive a pilot payment from schools or from the county. There are communities throughout the state that have received pilot payments, let's say on healthcare centers that the counties own, but that really is through negotiations and at the pleasure of the county or the healthcare center that has agreed to do that. It's not something that you can dictate. And again, if you talk to our city attorney, she would probably be able to articulate this a little bit better than I would, but there is our legal precedents where nonprofits have filed lawsuits against cities that have enforced a pilot and found that it was not legally enforceable.
right, I'm aware of that. But in answer to the question, are other facilities subject to pilot? The answer is yes.
Only if there's been,
You just gave us an example of the
Okay.
curling club.
but only if they've been negotiated, Jim.
Well, I understand that,
Okay.
but it's not just the water utility paying a pilot. There are other
Correct,
facilities
but there are very
paying pilots.
few. There's very few.
Right. Now, the other question has to do, I don't know that Mary Ann should answer this, but the old water plant that sits down there on riverfront property, that has to be assessed at some value.
No,
It's no value? Are we
not
paying-
right now in the pilot calculation. That we worked with the PSC to remove that value in the pilot calculation.
Okay.
And that would be another example where the city is helping out the utility because we are paying for the demolition of the water plant.
Have we transferred that technically to the city, or is it still on the utility?
That would be a
Asset.
question for the city
Asset.
attorney. I believe it's an asset of the utility still, but that is, something that you could be done in the future.
Okay.
I think another example of the city's contribution is lead service line to the public side. The city, because the PSC doesn't allow the utility to pay for any of the public side or resident side, I guess that's called private. I always think of public people. So the private side lead service line, the city, if it's not a forgiven loan, the city has been making those loan payments. That would be another example of collaboration between the city and the utility to further the goals of the utility.
So just follow up on your question, Mr. Force. The PSC sets the calculation to what we're authorized up to. The council ultimately sets that. And am I right? The council sets that. This commission has input, but we don't
Right.
set.
It's got to be a council resolution. So the PSC has the report that we file annually with the PSC is online. So it's electronic form. You put in the numbers, it does the calculation for you for that pilot payment. And then if you actually charge less than that, you have to submit or upload that resolution from council that gives you the authority to pay, gives the utility the authority to pay less than what that calculation determines that calculation is based on, again, the assets of the utility. And as I said, the old plant is no longer included in that calculation, along with our tax rates. So it's a formula that the PSC has created. So that's how that works.
And then
Thank you for your
one more
answers. I'm
follow-up.
not trying to be combative. There's just a lot of discussion and questions about pilot in the community these
Right.
days. And I was just trying to get some of the facts on the table, get some answers. So thank you.
Yeah.
Just one more follow-up, is there were a few alders, Mr. Forrest, that are looking to still have somebody come in and talk to that, and I think we'll have those conversations, whether it's before or after April, to be determined.
That'd be good. I'll be
Mr.
at the-
Greiner?
Thank you, Mayor. So I also have a question for the finance director. I mean, I understand that, the pilot it's difficult for people to stomach it, kind of, because we as community members it's double dipping essentially, because we're already paying our water bills and we're paying for all the other people who aren't contributing to it. I understand that. My question is this: so given the nature of the PSC and how the pilot amount is created, is the pilot comparable to what we would be receiving if we were to go through with a private sector? Like, for example, if we had a private sector water utility, right? They would be paying taxes to the city for rendering a service, delivering a good. Same as if it would be for any other kind of utility service where there are private sector services. Is what we're getting from the pilot comparable to what would be given to us had we gone with WPS for our
Right.
water or another provider like that?
So I think I'd have to talk to the city assessor about that, because state statutes, have specific lists within the statutes or provisions within the statutes that says this type of organization pays taxes, this type of organization does not pay taxes. And I'd have to confer with the city assessor to determine whether a private water utility would pay real estate taxes to the city. I don't know the answer. Yeah, but we could definitely find that out for you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Greiner, second by Force. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
See you next month. Oh, hey, let's talk about that. 128, let's see, I'm sorry. What time are we going to meet? There it is, March 3rd, 11 o'clock, same location. And we have a few items already set for the agenda that we've talked about. We'll put them back on the agenda for then, so we will be having the meeting. Thank you.